Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to talk a little bit about basically the fastest way to level your alts currently in the War Within, and yeah, everything you need to know. So let's talk firstly about how leveling alts works. So when you are leveling an alt, your alts now have what's called the Warband mentored leveling. For every character you have at max level, you get a 5% bonus up to a max of 25% to your character and their EXP gains from all content. So this is firstly a very good method of increasing your overall EXP. Another thing that we need to look at is obviously war mode. Depending on your server, war mode could be an incredibly good, really solid, incredibly helpful method of increasing your EXP gain. It's not something I recommend putting on for every server, but generally speaking, for the most part, war mode will generally mean that you can just get an EXP boost. Most times players won't go out their way to kill you, however, sometimes it can happen. So let's start with how to begin. So firstly, you will need to go enter into Kazalgar. You're going to want to quest there, you're going to want to interact there, so don't worry about anything else. You can head there and begin your quest line. Now, for most classes and units, dungeons are going to be an incredibly important part of this process. So pretty much for almost everyone, you're going to want to do dungeons. Even if you're a DPS, you're going to want to queue for dungeons. Dungeons are a great source of EXP, and if you can join a dungeon spam group, they are even better. So dungeons are, especially with the EXP boosts, probably one of the best methods towards getting yourself EXP. As you can see, finding a random dungeon group, pretty nice, gives us 62,000 bonus EXP, which is around a quarter of a level on its own, and especially if you have the double EXP buff from being rested, then you're going to net yourself some good EXP on top of that as well. So we sign up for dungeon spam, of course, which is great. So with your character you queue for dungeons. If you are a tank, you queue for dungeons, and healer, you should really pretty much just spam those. But what can you do to also speed up your process and be really quick? Well, firstly, you want to obviously start adventuring in Kazalgar. Now, the area you're going to want to pick in Kazalgar is going to be the Isle of Dawn. Not only does it have the best main quests, as they're all very quick, but it has the best side quests in the area. So you want to start in Kazalgar. You'll gain a huge chunk of EXP just by partaking in the side quests. As you can see, we are getting a huge bonus, plus also obviously the main quests that you'll complete as well. So it's all fairly straightforward. Now, I highly suggest, especially as a DPS, that you go and pretty much just start the main quest. It will take you through Kazalgar, and you can pick up all of these side quests along the way very easily, and you should have very minimal problems as you're questing your proc dungeons. If you can stick with a spam group, that's great. If you are a tank or a healer and you get tired of spamming dungeons, you can go and switch to questing in the Isle of Dawn in Kazalgar. But honestly speaking, realistically, there's no major point in doing so. If you just spam, chances are you'll come out a lot faster. So why is dungeon spam so fast? Well, dungeon spam is so fast because of a couple of things. First, the dynamic scaling that occurs in, obviously, the dungeons is a huge part as to why it's so quick. As you can see, our tank is literally just pulling everything on the face of the earth, pulling it to the boss, and then we are getting there and then just spamming our multi-shots, spamming everything we can, and getting EXP. So it's the scaling that does a lot of the heavy lifting, because of the fact that a lot of high level players are partaking in the content and they are basically carrying you through. And so if you have a group that has a high level diversity, you tend to find that a lot of the times the game is pretty easy. The dungeons are easy, everything is quick, and you don't tend to have that many problems. So it's a really good start. On top of that as well, you have dungeon quests. Dungeon quests will be available in the dungeon. You can usually take them at the front of the dungeon. Sometimes you won't have them unlocked because of story, but generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, you will have quite a significant amount of EXP. As you can see, it's only been a minute, and we've gained roughly 6% of a level simply just by killing these ads with obviously our EXP. So nothing too crazy there. Very, very good, and that's a large reason as to why dungeon spam is so intense. Of course, for tanks and healers, it's a little bit more maintenance, but generally speaking, it is the most effective method, at least currently, at this point in time, especially with your stacking EXP bonus. So dungeon spam is great, and for most classes, especially tanks and healers, it'll work pretty much until level 80 and be the most efficient method. For DPS, it will also be sufficient as long as you supplement it with questing in the Isle of Dawn, but also there are some tips and tricks to improve this even further. So especially when it comes to quests, you want to keep your eye out for things like skywriting, any kind of kill quests, as that will be double EXP, and pretty much anything that's nice, quick, and easy, as all of them will give you the same similar EXP from completion. On top of that as well, you're going to want to look out for bonus objectives that spawn from side quest lines, and you're going to want to pick up any nodes and treasures that you find along the way, especially if you are a miner or a herbalism trainer. This will help to alleviate the curve between the lower levels and mid-range levels, which is pretty. One really nice trick for the later levels, especially if you're on a DPS, is delves. So although delves themselves do not give a lot of player EXP, the thing is delve quests give a ton of player EXP. You can tackle a delve on level 1, you will have beefed up Bran from having, your account wide Bran, and it gives you EXP. Look at this, 51,000 EXP for my character, 25% of a level simply from completing the Delver's Creek call. It's not affected by the tier bonus. If you see me exit and leave and come back in, and I go to tier 3, that quest will still give the same amount of EXP. And this is where it's super important. It's not so much the delves themselves, but the delve quests. It's really, really good EXP, especially at that 78, 79 kind of range. Another great method for the later levels, if you're willing to spend a little bit of money, is first crafts. So first crafts, to cut a long story short, are really good because every time you craft an item for the first time, you get EXP, but that EXP is percentage based. So the thing is, if you are a character who is, for example, busy creating their gear and you want to kind of push that 78, 79 bracket, you can get there actually really easily simply by doing first crafts. And most classes will have a very large amount of first crafts, quite easily accessible, depending obviously on your, like profession and everything. And so, like just doing these, I mean, you will see me gain significant EXP there. I can already do another 2 recipes, as you can see here, which is obviously great. You can see whenever you have the first craft symbol, whenever you craft these, you can see my EXP bar going up a significant amount, which is amazing. And then boom, all of a sudden I'm almost the next level already, and I can start looking at picking up even more recipes. So depending on your profession, you can get a lot of EXP really easily, quite simply through first crafts. And I highly suggest you do leatherworking, as it's quite cheap to do if you're looking purely from a leveling perspective. So with all of this, you should be able to level your characters a lot easier. Dungeon spam is great, but especially for DPS or people who are just tired of dungeon spamming, that delve questing in the Isle of Dawn, making sure your war mode is on, and doing first crafts are all big steps towards essentially grabbing yourself a huge chunk of quick EXP. In fact, between first crafts, delve EXP, you can hit those later levels very quickly, so I highly suggest you look into those. But there are even more tips to improve your EXP gain in World of Warcraft. So one of the other big tips is the EXP boost from the Darkmoon Fair. As you can see, the Darkmoon Fair is currently up. Should you go to the Darkmoon Fair and ride upon the carousel, you will nab yourself, which you can get very easy with the tokens by the way, you will nab yourself a 10% EXP boost bonus, which honestly speaking is incredibly good for your character. If you couple that with war mode, dungeon spam, or for example just simply doing your crafting and quests, you can grab yourself a huge chunk of additional EXP, again with almost absolute relative ease. It really is that simple. Another tip is to make sure that you log into all of your characters that you are planning to level so that they can start to build up their rested EXP bar. It will only store up to at most 2 bars worth of rested EXP, but that'll help you a lot, especially in the beginning if you are looking to spam dungeons. It's a very good mechanism. If you are done with Isle of Dawn and are somehow not max level, your next best area will be Hallowfall, as it has great side quest distribution and also has really good main quest line quests as well. So you can gladly go through there, of course, as well. Another great tip, although it could be costly, is that you can unlearn your professions. So you don't have to stick with leatherworking. Once you've done all the easy first crafts, you can very easily switch to tailoring and do the same thing. You will have to buy some resources. This is more for people that have a bit of money, but I think for maybe 20,000 gold or so, you could probably, just through unlearning and relearning your crafting classes, you could probably get yourself 2 levels in an incredibly quick time period in that manner. And that is it. That is how you can speed level in World of Warcraft. Make sure that obviously you are just enjoying yourself in whichever way you can, and it won't feel that bad. I don't think leveling as a process is that hard right now, so I think for most players it should be very easy. Once you've got a couple characters to max level as well, those boosts really start to kick in and you can actively feel all of them start to take effect on your character.